So it's part 1 of 3. So this contains the first 4 issues. Again, it's 100 and a short story that we did for a free comic book day. So it is a hefty book. Like when you get this book, like it is, there is quite a bit of content.
You could easily kill small pests in your house if you needed to.
That's a good feeling then too when people get that book that they've waited for, and
it looks awesome.
All right.
It came out looking awesome, and
it does.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a high quality print job. We use the same printers. Speaking of, that IDW uses, so it's the same in general, just print quality. But it so we have this book kind of launches kind of the origin of these characters, the setting, the world they're in, and it just kind of pushes forward all of their ambitions, who they are, why they're even together, and how this world works. The next arc, part 2, right, we get into, and we are already well into that production. So those issues are already in the can, like those are done. So we're like almost wrapping up the next full arc. But 5, 6, 7 are done, and 8 we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. And we actually have another artist on board. Her name's Naomi Sky. And
she's awesome.
Yeah, she's great. I think what we realized was just with my schedule, this is what the big holdup was, and it's just the thing is you just have to be realistic with your time and who's working on it and just life. Like if you're freelancing, it's not realistic to do a creator-owned book if the artist can't get paid at least something, right? It's just not realistic because the time investment is a full-time job to get this done on any kind of a schedule. So I was having to draw comics full-time, which I was blessed to have that as a job and to be able to do that, but I couldn't produce Runestone after hours, after drawing 8 to 10 hours a day. There was no more time in the day to draw more comics. So I was just getting a little bit done, and it's not like comics pay a ton anyway, so it's like I was doing a little bit, and it just wasn't coming out fast enough. And then it got to the point where I was like, all right, I want to have a visual voice in the book, and so I was doing really tight layouts, and so you can tell like the storytelling is all very, very cohesive throughout. But we were able to hire on artists that we went to school with or that we met online, just people that I've known over the years that we set up with at conventions and things like that. So Dan Glassell and Dwayne Biddix and others that would do finishes over my tight layouts. And so that became a solution to help us produce this and get it moving again. And then I came back on for issue 4 because realistically, that's where we wanted to bookend it with my art. I think just so that I had a voice on the issues. And it is interesting for me because I drew the first issue 10 years ago. And I'm sitting here drawing issue 4 like last year, a year and a half ago.
Or finishing it up.
Finishing it, yeah.
Because actually, and that was one thing I was going to say was when we first started, like, we need to put together a pitch when it was like way too early for us to be pitching.
Yeah, we shouldn't.
Like years ago. And we're like, okay, let's look at the script that I wrote and let's pick some really cool pages that capture kind of what this series would feel like. And so there's actually pages in there. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I want to talk about that too. So there's actually pages in there in issue 4 that were drawn years ago that then Robert later on finished all the other pages in between, but then he also went back to some of the old pages and
I just
fixed a lot of things.
I was like, my art had grown so much, obviously in 7 to 10 years, just in that time. I was like, I can't put this in with the other pages. So I went back and redrew some panels entirely, and some panels I just either re-inked or redid the rendering at least a little bit. Yeah.
So it looked, and it all looked good to me. Like even your older stuff still looked amazing to me, but you obviously could pick up on things.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard for you to.
Yeah, it was noticeable. Like, anything you do 10 years ago, you're like, I was learning, So, but in general, I would just say like this is. It still has a nice cohesive feel in the storytelling, and we were very picky about who we picked to come in and draw.